So I'll just start with the allergic conjunctivitis overview. Dr. Vijay could not join us because of a personal exigency at home. So I think this session I have planned it deliberately to keep a large time for discussion, about 20 minutes or so that the common practical questions can easily be answered. So I won't be going into great details, but I'll be just telling you about a very superficial overview of allergic conjunctivitis. So the first line for any allergy for that matter would be avoidance of the allergen. And cold compresses, that point is not well stated by a lot of ophthalmologists. I think that is something important. That actually reduces the blood flow to the area, and so the mast cell this degranulation is really reduced, and so the initial process of allergy are really cut off. So that's important. The second line is the medications that we give. We have a plethora of medications, both topical and systemic, but I think as ophthalmologists, we generally confine ourselves to ocular medications. And the third line is immunotherapy. I think we are fortunate to have Dr. Praveen Kumar. He is going to talk on immunotherapy in some detail. I think we have given 10 minutes, more than 10 minutes for him for describing it, because something new that everyone knows. I think there is another important talk for us, allergy in children, which would be dealt by Dr. Anita Prabhakaran. She is a pediatric ophthalmologist based in Trivandrum at present, and she would be talking on what are the special things that you do in children. So I'll just tell about the classification of anti-allergics. There is a mast cell stabilizers and antihistaminics. I think third year and fourth year we have studied this. So mast cell stabilizer, the classical one that we all know is sodium chromoglycate, and then there is ketotifen. If you go to the antihistaminics, you have multiple generations. I think olopatadine and azilastine, these two common drugs that we use are the second generation one. The thing I wanted to emphasize was the dual action type of antihistaminic that we have. It has both antihistaminic action as well as mast cell stabilizing action. That is azilastine, that again we commonly use, epinastin, which was really available very well 3-4 years ago. So I think in the market it has gone down a bit now. And ketotifen. Ketotifen is something that is really underrated, and the drug which is ruling nowadays is olopatadine. So these drugs have both action. It has got a mast cell stabilizing action as well as a antihistaminic action. So there are subtle differences in the human eye. There are two types of mast cells. One is this tryptase containing mast cells, and second is the tryptase kinase containing mast cells. So these tryptase kinase mast cells are present in the ocular surface, in the conjunctiva. So chromoline or nedochromil is weak against TC cells, tryptase kinase. So it makes sense, all sense, to use olopatadine instead of sodium chromoglycate or nedochromil. So I think basically there are 4 types of allergy. One is the common one, what we see is the seasonal allergic conjunctivitis, which usually comes in a particular season, and that is almost purely mast cell mediated. So I won't go into the details, but I think generally it responds very well to our topical olopatadine or similar drug. Second is the perennial allergic conjunctivitis, in which instead of being seasonal, it becomes perennial. And there will be some long-term damages that you see. And if you see the cytological profile, you can see also some T cells which are present in the subconjunctival space, which tells you that, and there is some chronic inflammation definitely. So quite often this perennial allergic conjunctivitis is associated with allergic rhinitis, and like sometimes you can see this telltale evidence of allergic nasal salute. So that is it. Then we have the vernal keratoconjunctivitis, atopic keratoconjunctivitis, and giant papillary conjunctivitis, which are somewhat rare, like for to a general ophthalmologist, but generally it is also well seen, especially in our country. So these have actually, like you can see that CD4 T cells are present, and these do not just respond to your regular treatment with antihistaminics. You have to use steroids, and quite often you have to scale up the treatment. And when you have such huge papillae sitting there, so you have this eosinophilic major basic protein and eosinophilic cationic protein, which are very important. And these are present in papillae, and this can actually mechanically rub on the cornea. It's not just the mechanical effect, it's basically more of a chemical effect that causes epithelial toxicity and breakdown of the corneal epithelium and form a shield ulcer there. So in a early shield ulcer, it will be just an epithelial defect. I don't know whether you can really visualize, but you can see in the superior half of the cornea, just above the pupil, you can see an epithelial defect, which is well demarcated. If it's a shield ulcer like this, you just have to give lubricants along with your steroids. So generally, people have a tendency not to use steroids whenever there is an epithelial defect, but I think in such cases, there is some risk, but you should use it. Then only, unless you use steroids along with a systemic either steroid or a systemic antihistaminic agent, this won't get settled down. So you have to use copious lubricants, something like 1% CMC every 2 hourly or so, and along with steroid drops, and it will settle down like anything. Sometimes you get this stage 3 shield ulcer, in which the shield ulcer is somewhat remaining for a long period of time, and in the base of the ulcer you have this white deposits. So this actually, you have to remove that muck in the base of the ulcer, otherwise it will not get healed. And it is, when you take out the plaque and see it under the microscope or chemically analyze it, you can see that this eosinophilic cationic proteins are present in that. And so you have to mechanically remove it. And if it is very dense and if it is well established, it makes sense to put amniotic membrane also. But it's very important that you scrape it. So stage 2 also, you can maybe just do just scraping, that should be enough. But if you stage 3, well-established one, you have to mechanically remove it and put an amniotic membrane, then only the healing will happen. So this chap had an amniotic membrane and it healed. So is AKC or atopic keratoconjunctivitis, it typically occurs in association with dermatitis. And again, the cytological profile is totally different. I'm not touching on giant papillary conjunctivitis, which usually happens because of contact lenses. So if you have a contact lens associated or GPC, you have to discontinue lens wear, and topical antihistaminics would be helpful. And if you have very advanced one, it makes all the sense to use a topical steroid. So there is this hygiene hypothesis which people keep on talking. I think the allergy and immunology group have found that in Western population it is very, very high. The incidence of asthma, skin allergy, and now it's about 30%. I think the incidence of food allergy in Australia is somewhere around 1 in 7. That's very high. For some reason in India, the food allergy is not so very common, even though there are some definite increase in the number of food allergy. But it is the both nasal as well as ocular allergy that is important. They have common pathways and it's important to detect. Food allergy is slightly different. I think basically it's that we have moved away from environment and we are basically inhabiting very sterile, clean spaces. And because your exposure to multiple antigens are less, you don't have the TH1 type of response. Sorry, TH2 type of response. So you don't get used to this allergens, and that's the reason why your body is perceiving it as an antigen and raising a allergic response to it. I would stop in the interest of time. I will call upon the next speaker, Dr. Srinivas K. Rao. Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah, so sir has sent his son to do this talk. I hope he will follow father's footsteps. It's quite a tall thing to do. You know, it's very difficult. When you are a Sachin Tendulkar's son, it's very difficult to live up to the massive expectations of the people. I invite him for his next talk on management of ocular allergy.